Hello, everybody. Welcome to our very first YouTube video on our Perceptron YouTube channel. And this channel is basically dedicated to AI. So, we'll be covering a lot of aspects in the field of AI. And our very first playlist is dedicated to a crash course video especially for the interview purpose. So, if you are going to appear for your placement interview and you are looking for a job in the field of AI, you want to be a machine learning engineer, MLOps engineer, or AI engineer for that matter. So, this particular playlist is definitely for you. So, we'll be covering a lot of topics. Starting off with the very first video, we'll be covering a topic which is the fundamental and basic of artificial intelligence. And the topic is the difference between AI, ML, DL, and generative AI. So, AI is for artificial intelligence, ML is for machine learning, DL is for deep learning, and generative AI is very self explanatory. So, what is the difference between all these? So, starting with the topmost layer, as you can see from a figure on your left hand side, which is the artificial intelligence. So, artificial intelligence can be thought of a domain which was discovered in 1950s, and the basic idea was to train your or not train the idea was to make your computer as smart as a human. So, how did you do that? You wrote certain rules so that based on that rule, your computer will be reacting to a certain input. So, you didn't have any data or you were not training, you were specifically writing all the rules. If else, if this is the situation, do this. If this is the situation, act in a certain way. So that was the basic idea of artificial intelligence. So as we moved further on, there were many inventions and research going on in this field. So we dive we made artificial intelligence a bit more smarter and a bit more advanced, and a whole new world was emerged, which was the machine learning field. So now you don't have to write the code specifically for every case, but instead what you do is that you train a certain kind of algorithm, be it a linear regression model, decision tree model, or any model for that matter. If you don't understand models at this point, just forget about it. It's basically means you are taking a data, training a mathematical algorithm on top of that data, and the model will understand all the rules by itself. Now you don't have to specifically code for every situation, but the algorithm will learn from that data. Remember, in artificial intelligence there was no training on data, but in machine learning what you do is you train a mathematical algorithm. Just remember, the word mathematical algorithm is very important. As you can see from the image on the right, it's training on a mathematical algorithm. It will learn all the rules by itself, and then you get a trained model. So you give a input to it. Based on the training what it has undergone, it will give you a certain kind of results. So that means more data, more learning, and better it performs. Okay, so now again there were a lot of inventions and research going on. Then we made one more field called deep learning, which is more advanced and it can perform more complex tasks. Everything remains the same in deep learning, and there is a data, you train it, but train on what? Earlier there was a mathematical algorithm. Now you train what? Now there was an inspiration from the human brain, how your human brain works. If you are a biologist student or if you have studied biology in your uh, 11th 12th class, so you would remember there are neurons in your brain, and there are millions of neurons and they are connected to each other, And the more you work on a certain aspect, the neurons get thicker and thicker and the connection gets stronger. So similarly, that idea was derived of making neurons, many neurons connecting to it, so that just like a human brain can understand complex topics, the algorithm or basically this network will be able to do that as well. So from this image, which is a deep learning, this model is basically ANN, which is stands for artificial neural network. So you have an input layer where you give an input, and these are the hidden layers. It is just like millions and billions of neurons that are inside your brain, and there is a connection between every neuron, and then you have an output layer. So basically, the training is going here. You basically train this neural architecture. This is called the neural architecture. Now, you don't have a mathematical algorithm that you had in machine learning, but now you have a neural architecture. So you train your data on this, and this performs better than your machine learning algorithms in certain cases, and so in certain cases it does not. It depends on how much data you have, what kind of data you have. So deep learning was a more evolved and advanced version of machine learning. The only thing that we changed was, in machine learning, we were training a mathematical algorithm, but in deep learning, we were training a neural architecture that was inspired by our brain cortex, which does all the reasoning and understanding for us. So now, so again, um, more research, more development was going on, and we discovered a very interesting field, which is the generative AI. Now, what is generative AI? By the very term generative AI, you can understand that it is generating something for you. So it's like you have trained your deep learning models, or mm, to be very specific, you have trained a model which is called as language models on huge amount of data, terabytes of data. And when you train language models, and what I mean by language models is a model that can predict what is the next word. Okay, so that is basically like the garden is, the algorithm will predict by itself the garden is beautiful, the garden is full of roses, so it can predict the next word for you. And when these kind of models are trained on lots of data, terabytes of data, it is called large language models. And when this large language model is, played around or fine tuned with it, it can generate data for you. So generative AI is a more advanced version of the deep learning, wherein it can generate data for you. And what I mean by data, what kind of data it can generate? Now, if you look at this image over here, it can generate images for you, video, it can design for you, it can do code generation. For example, you're stuck with certain kind of problem, you're not able to find out the logic, or you're struggling with the syntax, generative AI will take care of that. Okay, so it can generate text for you, audio generation. In audio generation, you can generate voices of famous personalities and music. So there are various deep fake cases around the world. You can have a look at that as well. That is all coming from generative AI. So generative AI is nothing but advanced version of deep learning. So I hope you understood the difference between AI, ML, and generative AI. So in a nutshell, we can understand that gen- artificial intelligence was a very starting point of making your machine or your computer smart. And how you did that? You wrote all the specific rules that a computer needs to follow when a certain input is given. So now all that tension, all that writing of codes, rules was eliminated by machine learning. Mathematical algorithm will learn all that by itself on data. And what I mean by data, it can be a tabular data, it can be a text data, image data, anything. And again, more advanced version of machine learning was the deep learning. where we replace the mathematical algorithm with the neural architecture, and then more advanced version of DL, or I won't say a very advanced version, I would say a different aspect was given to deep learning, or a different subdomain of deep learning was the generative AI. Okay, so wherein it can generate images for you. So I hope this video is helpful to you and you understood the difference, because this is the topic where most people get confused. How do you differentiate AI, ML, DL, and Gen AI? So I hope this video made some sense to you, and you now you have the differentiation very clear cut in your mind. So thank you so much. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you want more videos like that and you want to follow this playlist, please do subscribe us. And please put down comments if you have specific questions so that I can answer them. Or if you have any specific topic that you want us to cover, you can pin that as well, so that we'll be covering that as well. So further on in these videos, we'll be covering various topics, but we'll be going in a very structured format from the very basic to the very advanced. We are studying the difference, and we might end up in large language models, how ChatGPT was built. So we'll, from understanding the very difference and from the latest thing that is existing, we'll be covering all the topics so that it will help you in the interview. Thank you so much.